morning, everyone. Welcome to the MSWA Climate Community Forum. Some of you will have met me, some of you won't. My name's Simon. I'm the Acting Chief of Climate Service Delivery at the moment here. And I'm going to be honoured to be your host for today. So you'll get sick of the sight of me and the sound of my voice very quickly. So I'll try and get out of the way and get to the real business very quickly. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we pay our respects to our elders past, present and emerging, and we recognise and respect their continuing culture and contribution they make to the land that we meet on. And in particular, this part of the country is beautiful. The Lake Mona out there is amazing. I always feel very calm every time I get a chance to be around that water. As I say, you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from the fun people today. But we have got a really exciting day ahead of us. We've got some very interesting presentations for you, some really interesting insights into the research that's going on, and we have a panel conversation later on. A lot of the focus today is on how we're going to try and drive better outcomes. So a lot of what you'll see is focused around the outcomes that we can make. There is also, for the first time this year, the expo that you all will see coming through. That's going to be again open over lunch. And really, if you haven't had the chance on the way into it, please go and have a look. There's some amazing things to be engaging with there. A couple of very quick housekeeping activities this morning. The bathrooms are out of the door that way to the right, and if you're not sure, please grab anybody in one of the MSWA red shirts, they can help you. And should we really need to exit in an emergency, if you please move in an orderly fashion to one of the exit doors and meet out at the front of the building, and we'll be okay from there. We'll have staff to guide you through. I'm sure that won't come to it. And what I normally say in these situations, if you see me running in a direction, just try and follow me. And that was my dad joke, it was the one allowed for the day. So look, to start us off today, as I say, you don't want to hear from me, we have our chair, Paul Sprummer, who's going to talk to us about his journey and some of the broader alignment of the MSWA goals. And for those of you who don't know, he's been a very key driver in our strategy and our vision and our approach to life at MSWA. So I'd like to welcome Horst, who will share his journey with us.
Thank you, Simon. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all here. It's good to see so many people that turn up to this annual client forum. As Simon said, I wanted to share just a few things with you as a board director and as chair of MSWA. The first being my own personal journey with MS. It's always like a personal thing to share, but it's also like a good thing to share. My journey with MSWA, and finally, like the things that I'm proud of that we've achieved whilst being board director. So I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians as well. Okay. So I'll share my journey living with MS. I got diagnosed in August 2007 following a number of visits to RPH emergency, and it's probably a story that's shared by many others. That the initial diagnosis was rather complicated and stressful. And when I got my diagnosis, I was kind of reluctant to start to share it with anybody, and I just shared it with family members and some close friends, and even then I had a bad experience with my brother-in-law dobbing me in for under an mandatory reporting obligation that I wasn't able to drive a vehicle, which was totally incorrect. So I kind of like that left a bit of a sour taste, and so I sat on it for a number of years. But one of the first things that I asked my neurologist when I got diagnosed was, I'm going to China in 3 months' time, like, should I go? And the neurologist said, it's a bit risky, probably wouldn't go, but I'd also encourage you to do as much as you can while you can. So it's kind of left me with this feeling that I wasn't going to be able to do things for long. So I thought, well, I'll take a risk and I'll go to China. So I kind of like to consider myself a little bit as a living example of our life not limits motto. So when we went to China, I'd never planned on sort of trekking mountains, but I saw this sign about a mountain with a glacier on it, and I said to my wife, I'd like to climb that. She said, "Are you crazy? You've got MS." And when we did it the whole way, she kept saying, "Are you alright? And I kept touching base. And when we got to the top, she actually got altitude sickness and was really sick, and I went to the doctor, and I said, there you go. So, and after conquering that particular mountain in 2000, very much a younger me there, 2007, I got the bug for doing it, and then after that, every year I've been on an overseas trip and I've done something that a lot of people might think is a bit crazy, and when I get asked, why do you do it? And I usually reply, because I can. I sort of developed this liking for trekking, and I've been doing those annual overseas trips every year. And do I push the next slide? Technology. There you go. So probably the latest one that has left a little bit of a legacy on the old joints and on the body was climbing Mount Kinabalu, and that was really taxing. It was quite difficult. The one in the middle was the Austrian Alps that I climbed. So that kind of like is my journey with MS. I suppose after some time, I was brave enough to share my diagnosis with my employer, who actually was very good, and I thought, well, it's actually a good thing to share rather than, keeping it secret. So I somewhat came out of the closet, around 2015, and then I got talked into sharing my story on the MS website last year. So my journey with MSWA, I joined the board in 2010, and I can remember that well. I was having some counselling sessions at MSWA, and we talked about what I'd like to do and how I'd like to make a difference, especially for those people living in MS that are not as fortunate as I am. So ultimately, the consequences of that was that I applied to go on the board, which I did in 2010. And I've seen the organisation grow significantly in that time period. I've put there that's probably maybe triple in size, but I didn't actually look at the exact numbers, but it will be at least triple in size. And then I joined the board of MS Australia in 2020. I was on the selection panel that recruited our current CEO, Melanie Kiley, in February 2022. And I still remember, and Melanie talks about it quite often, our first in-depth conversation, which was at a research conference in Hobart in April 2022, where she gave me a bit of a grilling that ultimately led me taking over the role as chair. MSWA has changed its direction to be more purpose-focused, more purpose and client-focused, and that's kind of like part of our strategy, as Simon had alluded to. And we had a governance review in 2023 that led to us changing our constitution and our legal structure to be more relevant for the organisation that we are. So my proudest moments while I was being the board director was like right at the beginning was the decision to do a mega home lottery. Came with a lot of angst and trepidation, and we really didn't know whether that was the right thing to do. And now, in hindsight, what a decision that was. The decision to expand the organisation to look after other neurological conditions, again, was a brave one, which some people thought was a stupid decision, but that's turned out to be, a very positive decision as well. Being able to have input in improving the lives of people with MS and other neurological conditions, that's that's what I do it for. And I'm kind of proud of being part of the employment of Melanie as CEO, because I can see how much the organisation has changed since Melanie joined us, and changed for the better. And I'm also proud that I was involved in a video coming on in a minute about getting funding approved for MSWA to be the leading funder of the Platypus project, research project. Now, Platypus is a groundbreaking research project. It's the first of its kind, and it uses existing medications to fast-track the research, and it's the first major research project in progressive MS. You know, they've kind of been forgotten in the past, and it's kind of like shone the light on progressive MS, and I'm proud that MSWA is the leading funder of that project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Horst. I'd reflect on that and say, look, I've been with the organisation for 12, 13 months, and it's been a pleasure to be here because I do see that focus on purpose that you talk about. And also, I think, you do really embody that idea of life not limits, the fact that you're out there giving it your all and taking this a step forward, not a step backward, which I commend highly. Next, we have the video of Platypus, which Horst alluded to. Unfortunately, the team can't be with us today, so this is going to be through a video presentation. So I shall send it to play and then get out of the way.
Yeah, so this is most exciting indeed to have this partnership between UK Octopus and Australia Platypus, all aligned to the same purpose, all using the same protocol, all using the same database, all trialling out the same initial medication. I mean, this is a global problem. There are 2.5 or 3 million people with multiple sclerosis around the world, so it takes more than one person, one centre, one country to fight this. We have to make more impact on the disease progression in progressive multiple sclerosis. And the drug development program just takes a long time. It takes maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. And so one angle we've taken, we've really much borrowed from the oncology research, is to use what are called multi-arm, multi-stage platforms, and that's the Octopus platform. It's a fantastic opportunity, and it's fabulous to come together here, UK, Australia, working together with my friends and colleagues and the charities on this shared problem for people who are afflicted by progressive multiple sclerosis.
Hello everybody, and welcome to our presentation today on the Platypus clinical trial, which we were very proud to launch last year at the MS Progressing MS conference in conjunction with MSWA. So a little bit about what is Platypus. I'm Dr. Julian Rohan, Head of Research at MS Australia, and I'm here with Professor Simon Broadley from Griffith University, who is the Chief Investigator of the Australian arm of this study. So what is Platypus all about? Essentially, what we're after is effective treatments for people living with progressive MS. We have a number of currently available therapies for people that are living with relapsing forms of the disease, which can be very effective at stopping people having disease activity or relapses. But we really don't have available therapies to address progression in MS. Around 15% of people will start with the progressive forms of disease, and even if they don't, most, if they are untreated, will become progressive in the later stages. We know from recent work done by MS Australia that over 33,000 Australians live with MS, and if we estimate that around 40% of those people live with progressive disease, that's over 13,000 people in Australia currently living with progressive MS. So, despite a number of traditional clinical trials for progressive MS having been undertaken, we still don't have anything to offer this group of people, particularly for the repair of damage that's already been done or neuroprotection to try and help the brain not be attacked in the first place. We urgently need to test new therapies for people living with progressive disease, but we do know that traditional clinical trials and the associated drug approvals can take many, many years. We feel at MS Australia and globally that the need to identify safe and effective treatments that slow progression is paramount for people who are living with MS now. Simon is now going to discuss the Platypus clinical trial that will address this exact question.
Thank you, Julia. So what is different about Platypus? This is a pioneering multi-arm, multi-stage adaptive clinical trial design, which aims to bring results more quickly and cheaply than traditional clinical trials. And really, we want to deliver positive trial outcomes and then translate those to clinical practice in the most expedient way possible. So why is it so different? The multi-arm, multi-stage design allows us to trial multiple drugs against a placebo arm all at the same time. And the adaptive design allows the trial to progress through the traditional phase 2 and phase 3 stages, all within one trial. So this takes less time, requires fewer participants because you don't need as many placebo participants, and it allows you to drop arms that are looking less promising, and in theory also add new treatment arms as new potential treatments come along. And it allows us to focus all of our resources on the most efficient trial design, and ultimately will allow us to bring any effective therapies to people with progressive MS more quickly. So this is an illustration of that design. As you can see, to begin with, in stage 1, we have 3 treatment arms, 2 actual active treatments and 1 placebo. After a period of time, we analyze those results from that initial stage, and any successful arm, in this case the purple arm, will go forward against placebo into stage 2. And down the bottom, we've introduced a 3rd potential treatment arm along the way. This makes it a very adaptive trial, and you don't have to go back and seek approvals at every stage. It's all done within one trial. So this trial design allows people to stay on their current therapies, so the standard of care, so the currently existing disease-modified therapies are all permitted during this trial. We're trialing agents that, as Julia mentioned, aim to be neuroprotective or actually repair myelin. And the repurposed drugs that we're going to test first are metformin and alpha-lipoic acid, both of which have good preliminary data that they may be effective. So this is very much an international effort. So Platypus is based on the UK Octopus trial, and we're simply going to be an extension of that study. This allows us to leverage very significant investment in the UK project and build on what is already a very substantial existing resource in terms of clinical trial design that's been set up in the UK by my colleague Jeremy Chataway. Obviously, there's a combination of all the personnel on both sides of the world that means that we'll end up with an even better, more robust result.
We also wanted to mention, particularly for this audience, that this clinical trial has been heavily co-designed with consumer involvement, both in the UK and in Australia. So consumers were involved in the original design of the Octopus clinical trial in the UK, and we did a analysis and discussion with around 104 Australians with MS to look at the platypus design. This has meant that we have slightly different parameters or inclusion criteria for octopus and platypus than you would see in a traditional clinical trial. We have a greater EDSS range, which is a scale that measures disability, so hopefully more people will be eligible to be participants. We have a higher upper limit of age than traditional clinical trials. We have a range of measurements that can be taken at home rather than in clinic, and then also based on consumer involvement and co-design, fewer but longer visits to clinical trial sites in the actual hospitals. So we're hoping that some of the barriers to people with progressive MS participating in clinical trials may be alleviated with this co-designed trial.
So where are we up to now? So we're looking at potentially 10 sites across Australia, including Perth. The scientific planning is very much underway. We're hoping to enrol our first participant towards the end of this year.
So please, if you would like more information or to register your interest in being part of the platypus trial, please head to the MS Australia website. The URL is on the screen now, msaustralia.org.au/platypus, and we will record your details and keep you up to date with our progress. Thank you very much for your time today.
If anyone didn't get that URL, just tap me on the shoulder over lunch and I can share it with you. For me, obviously, what was really exciting about that is this idea of the multi-arm, multi-stage thing. Just the fact that something that can often take so long is being shortcut, and the fact that we're also trying to repurpose drugs. All of these things give us faster outcomes and better translation, which I think is really, really a great opportunity. Now, next up, we have Leonie Randles from our nursing team, who's going to share some of the work that team is doing right now. Welcome, Leonie.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me to the stage. I'm very proud to be here representing our fabulous nursing team at MSWA, and we're led by our fabulous Venetia Uccelli, Head of Clinical and Residential Nursing Services. Our nurses are knowledgeable and trained in caring and assisting for people living with neurological conditions.
And kind.
Thank you.
We work to assist people to live their best lives. MSWA as an organisation encourage our nurses to develop their knowledge and skills and to ensure the nursing team are well qualified to work effectively with our clients, and we thank them for that service. Our nurses are provided ongoing training and education to assist our work, both within the organisation and out. You go to the next technology. Our nursing team are usually the first point of contact following a person's diagnosis of a neurological condition. We provide support with the clinic setting at the hospital, in the community and at our hubs, following the first appointment. Clients gain access to our neurological liaison support line. That allows the client to seek further understandings by speaking with our nurse on the nurse support line. Our nursing team will suggest completion of a comprehensive nursing assessment that allows the development of understandings of a client's needs and preferences. This report assists in identifying clinical considerations as well as referrals to other support services that may assist a client to achieve their life goals. Throughout the client's journey, MSWA Nursing is there to support and assist in many ways. The many services that MSWA Nursing provide to our clients have been developed with the intention of assisting the needs of people living with neurological conditions. MSWA Nursing may provide ongoing care and support with services such as catheter management services or enteral feeding nursing support, or there may be more specific such as clinic support or wound care. As you can see from the extensive list of services, our nurses have extensive understandings to assist our clients meet their goals in life. The nursing team work to assist access and information sharing along with care needs with MSWA associated services and external networks of care support services. Many aspects of managing neurological conditions and living a good life whilst maximising community engagement is at the heart of our nursing services. With MSWA Nursing's commitment to our client care, we work to innovate and introduce services that are clinically indicated to assist our clients live their best lives. MSWA Nursing is very excited to share with you today 2 new services that have been introduced at MSWA by our nursing team. Under the guidance of the Nichery, we have worked to meet the necessary clinical, quality and safety indicators to allow, firstly, the introduction of a nursing service to administer a new MS treatment. Secondly, the development of an advanced skill, nurse-led continence clinic. The first new service is in response to new medication being prescribed by neurologists to some of our clients living with MS. The treatment can be delivered by an injection every 4 to 6 weeks. When a neurologist prescribes Tysabri subcutaneous injection, our clients now have the choice of receiving that injection at one of our MSWA hubs. The disease-modifying medication can now be administered and overseen by advanced skilled neurological nurses at MSWA, thus allowing our clients to gain assistance and administration of a medication in a comfortable and familiar setting and at a convenient time to them. Thus, MSWA Nursing has responded to our community's needs regarding a medication innovation and change in therapy regime. With all safeguards and care, MSWA nurses now provide administration of an injectable medication that has been prescribed by a neurologist with a confidential individual service provided at MSWA hubs. Secondly, and we're most excited to announce, the development of an advanced skill nurse-led continence clinic. The continence clinic, soon to be introduced by MSWA Nursing, will provide for a large suite of assessments and management supports by our continence nurse specialists. So without getting into too much wheeze and poos conversations that nurses do love so much, the service will be provided at MSWA Butler and Wilson hubs, commencing on the 23rd of October this year, followed shortly after by the Southwest Nursing Care Team's Continence Clinic, with a start-up date in early 2025. The purpose of these clinics is in response to our clients' needs to assist symptom management and associated with living with a neurological condition. By working with our clients, nursing at MSWA is assisting to identify requirements and assist management of common symptoms associated with many neurological conditions. The new MSWA nursing services will offer confidential and tailored services in response to our clients' needs. MSWA nursing team welcome and participate in medical and other studies and research, with the knowledge that supporting studies such as these may provide innovation or advancement in knowledge and care for our clients. The studies may provide interesting findings that can affect our delivery of services by leading to innovation and change in line with best practices. I'd like to just briefly mention 2 studies that our nursing staff have recently participated in. One study that some members of our nursing team participated in was in disaster or emergency management in the community. We have all seen the images of bushfires and floods in recent times. MSWA nurses participated in a study that surveys some clients who lived in known potential bushfire or flood zones and assisted in providing the tools to develop a ready plan or a plan for responding to an emergency that may require the need to evacuate your home. MSWA nurses participated in playing a key role in developing the understandings from the study. One significant finding that was for the clients to acknowledge and understand and be aware of vulnerabilities when living in a fire or flood zone. Participants identified their participation in the study stimulated activities of developing preparedness for a potential event, with participants reporting that they found that the survey and information helpful and stress reducing by knowing what could be required when faced with a potential evacuation and their knowledge and capacity to know what to do. The second study that we participated in was in infection control, and it was hand hygiene for clinical care workers in the community care sector. I might think a little bit more nursing. Hand hygiene for clinical care workers in the community sector is a difficult subject. The study was undertaken by a PH candidate, Mrs. Ada Jumo, and her team. The simple task of hand hygiene and performance of standard proportions or hand washing using either soap and water with clean drying facilities or using hand gel and hand gloves being available has highlighted several areas of interest and concern that are being further considered. In this study, care providers, mostly nurses, were surveyed regarding access and adherence to standard precautions in the community and home care environment. Whilst the final report is yet to be completed, some challenges with access to hand hygiene, balancing choices, workplace availability, care interference, and access to training, providing interesting insights and potential understandings for home care providers and their organisations. Whilst MSWA service continues to grow our services in response to our clients' needs, we will look forward to the year ahead with the expansion of our services and the enhancement of our team's commitment and knowledge in providing effective supports to our clients. Thank you for the opportunity to share our care and vision with you. I would like to invite 1 or 2 questions if time permits, or you may choose to speak with our nurses at the expo. Yes.
You mentioned a helpline. I was wondering if you've actually got the telephone number for that?
Yes, we certainly do. The nurse support line business cards are on our nursing station outside at the expo. You're welcome to pick one up, or I can get one for you at the break.
So you don't know it off the top of your head?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Did you work with the fire and emergency services to develop your fire plan?
My understanding is that the nurses worked to a criteria of the research that the person that was running this research was, and the ready plan, I believe, is part of the fire department service.
What's called the fire plan? Anybody here live in the hills? She's got her fire plan.
Yes.
Right. Is this working together with DFIS in developing your fire plan? Because they have a regulation now, what do you call it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, they have a bunch of things you're supposed to do. Check the box. Does this integrate with it? That's all I'm saying is.
So you're saying that you're comfortable with the service that's provided at this
No, I'm
stage?
saying, does it integrate with DFAS's power plants? Does it come together? We don't run. Does it come together?
I don't write I'm sorry, our research is to follow the research criteria for the study. What they do with their findings will be published at a later date, so I can't answer that without understanding their findings.
Yeah, sorry, we don't run that program, but it's a very good question as to whether they do integrate or not. One would hope so. You can certainly ask them that, but it's not our program. We just participate to give them more data. But good point, yeah. We could get that up.
Thank you. Please feel free to speak to any of our nurses at the expo.
One more question.
One more? Thank you.
Actually, it's not a question. I want to applaud the nurses. This year we had, even before the helpline and hub was on, we had a situation with my husband, and Jess was so helpful. She called me back. She organized even the emergency GP. She was so helpful into helping us, helping me to understand. I was taking photos of what's happened to his legs, calling her. I couldn't have a GP. She organized for us to go to an emergency GP, then back to hospital. It was just amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you.
I don't think I need a comment after that, usually. Thanks so much. But yeah, look, that passion, care and energy in the nursing team is amazing to see, and it's sort of reflected across our organisation with all of the staff that do their caring for us. Next, we would like to share with you some of the work that's going on in the community space right now. This is a video, because unfortunately they can't be with us today, from one of our support workers and the person that she supports, Sue. So I'll let you sit back and enjoy this.
MSWA and her support worker Tennille. So Sue, how long have you been a client of MSWA?
It would probably about 7 years. I was with Wanders, which was a state one, NDIS, but then when it went Commonwealth, federal, I changed over, but I've always been with MS right the way through.
And Tennille, how long have you been with MSWA?
Yes, I've been with MSWA for nearly 7 years myself. So yeah, I've been with Sue for the whole time.
The beginning of your time with MSWA?
Yeah, right from the very beginning.
Very nice. So Sue, when you first started with MSWA, what services did you have in place?
I began with domestic, and then I slowly came into getting some social support. And then I got more social. The first social support was shopping, but then I graduated to different social supports.
Okay, so how have your services changed over the years?
Well, like I say, once I found out that MS do provide that service to do other things, I did. And also, when the MS manager office opened, the physio, I came to do physio here too.
So Sue, we have some wonderful photos of you both attending the football, and you mentioned over time your support needs have changed. Can you give us an example of how that was positively affected with your social supports?
Yeah, well, about 5 years ago, or a bit more, when I first started, I used to catch a train with my support worker, and we'd go up that way, but as my mobility's declined, we now drive up, and I get priority parking so that we park near the stadium.
Great, and Tennille, so how has that changed the way you provide the supports for Sue?
Yeah, so when I started with Sue, we were catching the train together with her walker. And then as her mobility needs changed, we changed to a gopher, and I can put that gopher in my car. We drive up to the football, we park basically on the football grounds, and we can walk straight through.
Great. So Sue, what do you feel you achieved by utilising supports with MSWA?
Well, I go to football, of course, and shopping, which I couldn't have done before, and physio, and family events that MS have taken me to, so I can go out into the community more, because I've got a support worker that will always help me if I need it.
Lovely. And so, Tennille, how do you feel about providing these supports to someone?
I love providing the supports that I do, especially when I get to work with such beautiful people like Sue. It brings so much fulfillment to my career and what I do.
Great. So, Sue, just adding on to that then, how do you feel this empowers you?
Oh, yeah, adding on to it, it just gives me so much confidence knowing I can go out and enjoy myself, but always know that I've got that support if things go wrong.
How does your community support services assist with the other services you receive from MSWA?
Oh, before I joined MS or NDIS, I did no physical exercise, and it's helped me that way that I come over here and use the physio here, and it's really good that way.
And what other supports are you wanting to utilise in the near future?
I am looking at meal prep assistance. First, I need help in the kitchen, but as it's shown with football, as needs change, they will do the whole thing for me.
Does MSWA offer the required flexibility for your needs?
It certainly does. With things like the family events, I've been to a few funerals that you can't plan for. And MS, I just ring up and they give me supply transport for me to go, and that's the other events too, but mainly the family events.
Now, you mentioned that you were going on a cruise as well. How would that affect your services?
Well, once again, they're really good because I ring up and I say, suspend my services till I get back, and they just take it, stop them, don't charge, of course, and then when I get home again, they begin my services.
So, Tennille, how does the flexibility with MSWA affect you as a support worker?
Yeah, MSWA provides me a lot of flexibility with my everyday life, so I can be working from morning all the way through to the night time. I get to pick the hours that I work, and it also works around my studies because I'm studying at the moment. So if I'm going on placement, I can take leave for that time that I need, and MSWA also work my hours around the times that I need to be at university for my studies. So yeah, it's great.
Well, Sue and Tennille, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your experience with us.
And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to let other people know what MS does for you.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, and thank you for providing all the flexibility. I love the work that I do.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What I really like about that particular video is it's just about supporting people to do the things they love. And that for me, you know, that's what we would all want out of our life, to do the things we enjoy no matter what. Now, next up we have our cognition group, taking us through some of the latest research and introducing you to memo rehab. Is that the correct pronunciation? Very good. So over to Peter and Tamara.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamara and this is Peter, and we're super excited to share our experience and excitement about the new occupational therapy cognition service that we've developed alongside our colleague Sarah, who will be presenting later on the SPIN research. So during our presentation today, we're going to look at a few things. So what is cognition, why it is important to address, and how to identify some of these changes. We will also discuss the causes of these changes and how functionally this can impact our clients. And we will also give you some information on what cognitive rehabilitation therapy is and the MSW Cognition Service, and our process of assessing and delivering these interventions to our clients. So, what is cognition? So, it is essentially an umbrella term for how we use our brain to think. The modern word cognition actually has roots back to Latin, the word cognitia, which is get to know. With that in mind, cognitive functioning is therefore critical for our day-to-day life, governing our thoughts and our actions. We need cognition to help us understand information about the world around us and interact safely in our environments. As the sensory information we receive daily is vast and it can be super complicated. So cognition is needed to distill all this information down to its essentials. Cognition again refers to all the high-level functionings carried out by the human brain. So this includes things like processing information, attention, memory, planning and problem solving, as well as visual perception and verbal fluency. So there's a lot involved. The most prevalent deficits observed in neurological conditions can present as slower ability to process information, difficulties with memory, and learning new information. So within our roles in the OT department and employment support, we understand that the impact of cognitive changes in neurological conditions can have huge impacts on people's day-to-day lives. So cognitive changes can impact a person's employability, which can then impact and affect financial and personal goals, as well as social interactions are often impacted, meaning it can be harder to develop and maintain relationships. Changes in cognition can impact mood, such as increasing symptoms of anxiety. Cognition changes also can impact a person's ability to regulate their emotions. It can impact a person's personality, which may mean changes in their behaviours. And the flow-on effect of this may lead to a number of outcomes, but some of these could be withdrawal from usual social activities and a lot of valued occupations that we all like to do. It is important to note a few things with cognition. So cognition changes does not mean a change in a person's intelligence, and it does not equal Alzheimer's disease. Age-related cognition decline is a normal part of aging. However, it's worth acknowledging that cognitive decline may be a symptom of a neurological diagnosis. So, how to identify cognitive changes? There's a big long list behind me of some common observations, and I'm sure a lot of us experience these common observations. However, if this is a frequent occurrence and that has begun to affect your day-to-day life, there are a few things we can do to help. So the most common type of memory problem may be related to recall of details of an event or a discussion. An event or discussion may be remembered, but not all of its details. For example, some people may find it difficult recalling names or may forget to do planned tasks. Often people may realise they're having cognitive problems when they find it hard to read a book or follow conversations. Many people may also realise it when it takes longer to take in new information, make sense of it, and respond appropriately. Learning may also occur in a disorganised and inefficient way, making it harder to recall the information later. It can also take longer to learn something new, with the person requiring a little bit of extra practice on tasks they previously didn't need to. It may also affect the ability to sustain attention, Tasks may not get finished as a person may be unable to concentrate for the duration of the task. Such problems tend to occur more frequently when there are many things happening at the same time, so this can lead to being easily distracted. And executive functioning includes the ability of thinking and planning actions. It involves generating possible solutions based on information that's presented to us. People can have difficulties with planning an event, maybe such as a holiday, or experience difficulties problem solving, which may lead to becoming fixated on certain issues or spending extra time. So 1 in 3 people are affected by neurological conditions, and many neurological conditions many people with neurological conditions experience cognitive changes, so you can see the percentages on the screen behind me. So what is cognitive rehabilitation therapy and its components? So CRT is a therapeutic process of relearning and restoring cognitive skills that have been lost or altered because of damage to brain cells or altered brain chemistry. And the process of CRT comprises of 4 components. So the first one is education. Second is remedial skills training to address specific cognitive skills. The third is use of external and internal compensatory strategies. And the fourth is application to everyday life and using functional tasks to practice these. So cognitive rehabilitation therapy and memo rehab is something that we've implemented in the OT and Employment Service recently. So Memo Rehab is an interactive telehealth platform based on the original program that was delivered face-to-face, and this was called Making the Most of Your Memory. And this has been shown to improve everyday memory in patients with neurological conditions, even if this is years after onset. This program also had an important focus on prospective memory, and that is to remember to do things in the future at the right time, which we find this is often not addressed and plays a major role in daily life, such as just remembering things like appointments. Throughout the Memo Rehab program, a variety of strategies are explored, with occupational therapists assisting in tailoring these strategies dependent on people's needs or their goals. This may be remedial and or compensatory. So research has shown us that best practice is to use a combination of both remedial and compensatory approaches in CRT therapy. And it is important to note that the CRT is not a cure, and success can be dependent on a person's motivation and capacity to learn, as well as consideration of, general life factors as well.
I've just got my memory prompts in front of me. So when we looked into doing the cognition rehab services at NSWA, we found that there was strong research with MS, disease-modifying treatments, but they didn't necessarily go forward in doing cognition improvement. So we looked at neurological conditions and CRT, and what we found with the research, qualitative research, that it actually helped in a group program to raise self-awareness, and this awareness of where the difficulties lay for people helps people with motivation and putting strategies into place. And apart from that, group programs have positive client outcomes for people, and it's lower cost for people, low risk, and it's effective approach. So based on this research, our aim is to include functional, focused, evidence-based group program to deliver cognition services in both the OT department and employment services. The Memo Rehab program was chosen as it delivered in small online groups with a maximum of 6 people, and it's facilitated by clinicians. Feedback has been in line with other CRT group program research that it supports emotional and social improvements and leaves clients feeling more optimistic. So over the 6-week Memo Recap program, we have adapted the group content when required and facilitated discussions with clients and around their personal experiences, as well as providing additional evidence-based research and learning materials as we went along. There are 6 weekly 1-hour group online-based sessions, and that involves usually about 15 minutes of pre-educational material and 15 to 30 minutes of homework throughout the week. The program has 3 major components. So it's learning by watching educational videos on how memory and attention works and effects of medical conditions and the environment. And there's also quizzes to help reinforce learning. Through that, there's lots of discussion where strategies are discussed as a group and to apply to daily life in both the compensatory memory loss and unpacking what people already do and what works for them as well. This included sharing tricks and aids that people use in the home, the community and the workplace. Also, the stories and experience with like-minded people was a benefit of the program because people are facing similar challenges and people helping each other and forming connections was a really important part. So this also included a practice element, which with computer-trained exercises and that received guidance with reviewing practical homework with us to improve the strategies each week. The program explains the process of learning and memory through different stages using the analogy of a filing cabinet, or how memory and attention work. So the encoding stage was how we get the information in, put it into a filing cabinet, put it into different folders, and then the storage is keeping the information in the cabinet, and the retrieval is understanding how the information is stored in the filing cabinet to retrieve it. So using these stages of memory, we unpacked lifestyle factors and used examples of everyday tasks to highlight how memory and attention can be impacted. For instance, a lack of sleep, lack of reduced lighting can actually help with the encoding stage. And so simple things like turning up the lighting and getting some support with your sleep can actually help in that encoding stage. So throughout the Memo Rehab program, we educate participants on a number of strategies to assist with attention and memory with a strong focus on internal and external strategies. So internal strategies are more rehabilitation approach and it's what you can do sort of internally. And that might be things like reducing environmental stimulation to help with attention, organising information, so like when you're going shopping you might categorise different things on your shopping lists. There's repetition, a lot of repetition to yourself and asking people to repeat things to you as well. Planning to do things when you're less fatigued as well. So all of those things are more internal strategies. And then we used external strategies for a more compensatory approach using tools and memory aids. So that might be writing lists, keeping notebooks near the phone where you're going to actually access prompts, using calendars as well, and smartphones as well, because they're a wonderful tool to use. We found other cognitive assessments were not specific to neurological conditions, so we developed our own pre-programmed questionnaire to monitor the effectiveness of the program. We used information provided to us by clients in our clinical experience to ensure we were capturing common areas of concern, addressing lifestyle issues and that could be impacting memory. We also asked participants to complete a mental health screen. Stress, as you can see today, and anxiety can play a major role in how our memory is working, and it helps people to identify this within themselves. And then where necessary, we completed referrals to other members of the team. The questionnaire was also completed at the conclusion of the program, and it allowed people to actually write down the strategies that they found helpful for the program, and that acted again as another memory prompt for people to take with them afterwards. A beneficial side of the program was the holistic approach and the educational videos on how lifestyle factors affect cognition, and it led to really great group discussions and peer learning from lived experiences. One example from a participant was to provide information on the Sunfowl Lanyard program and how this can help with stress and travelling, which was really helpful for people. So you can see some of the personal experience of the program. We'd like to show you a very short video of one of our lovely participants, Deb, who kindly volunteered to do this video for us, so you could gain some personal feedback on the program run by our OTs.
Okay, Deb, could you please tell us about your overall experience of the Memo Rehab program?
Yeah, sure. Look, for me, just sort of to summarise it up front, it was really, I really enjoyed it actually, because I remember I was away at the time, so I was, having it as an online experience was great, so that I was able to access it for a start. And it was really easy to follow, it was engaging, really nicely facilitated, and the good thing was that we sort of had this pre-reading or pre-videos, and then I think we did quite a few exercises, and then we did the session, and then some homework as well. So all of that sort of kept me engaged. And I have to admit, I'll be honest, I did obviously slacken off later in the series to about the 5th and 6th week, and I wrote that in my feedback that I did sort of ease up on the homework, but it didn't really matter because it was easy to do and you get reminders anyway. So none of it's too much. Yeah.
Wonderful. And did you enjoy the group element of the online platform, to having the other participants to talk to?
I did. I mean, I know it's not for everyone, and for different issues in my life, I wouldn't do a group thing. But for this, it was great for me, and we were prepped before in a really nice way to sort of be aware of pitching things in a way that sort of everyone's comfortable with, a bit of confidentiality, those sort of things, not to talk too much, which is a bit hard for me. So the group thing, really nice. It's also nice to be made, everyone's got their own journey and story, so I think that sort of helps with awareness and understanding and empathy, all of those sort of things.
Great. Thank you. And what did you find most helpful with the program?
Yeah, probably the fact that it was, there were different learning styles. I'm a really visual learner, and I know a lot of people are, so there was a lot of that in it. The videos were great, I love that. That was really good. And then there was sort of great exercises. I like that sort of thing I need to be doing to learn. So that was good. And then there's sessions, which sort of reinforce the learning, and then the homework. So I think I did like the variation of activities and learning experiences as a package. And all the length was good as well. It wasn't too long. I think in the end it was about 6 sessions or 6 weeks it took.
Yeah. And is any of the strategies that you learned, are you still using?
Yes. Look, I think overall what it did for me was it reinforced things that I was probably doing already, but it put them in a context that said, start doing them deliberately, whereas I was just squeezing things into my life, not realising that, certain things were useful or not. It sort of brought it to the front of my mind, and now I do things deliberately. For example, the calendar thing, I was just sort of putting things on my phone and writing things down, and then I realised both of those are good complementary things, and now I deliberately spend a bit of time every week, sometimes every day, doing that, whereas I used to just think, I'll just manage it, and of course I wasn't managing it. Word association for remembering names, reminder things on my phone, just writing things on post-it notes again. I would do that not thinking that, that's actually a good strategy, and now I do it a lot. And I was writing things down a lot anyway, because my memory used to be great and now it's not, and it hasn't been for some years. So I suppose it gave me the confidence and the permission to say, do these things and keep doing them. I'm not doing more, but if I forget things, I can always go back to the notes.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely. And during the session, the facilitators were 2 occupational therapists. Did you find them useful, having them access to them throughout the group?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think knowing somebody has a research base it provides a lot of credibility in any format that you're learning in. So yeah, absolutely. And they were right there, point of need. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was really beautifully facilitated as well. Very non-judgmental, and that was very nice as well. I really appreciated that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So you can see it was actually, that was just one lot of feedback. We've had lots of really positive feedback.
Okay. Whoops. This one. Yeah, just click on there. So this is just a very quick sneak preview of the program. If you'd like to know more, we would really love to talk that with you at the expo with Tamara, Sarah and myself, and we can actually just take you through what it actually looks like. So thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you at the expo. Is there any questions? If you want to ask them in private, yeah, just come and ask us at the expo. Well, this program's actually online, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. And
some people didn't hear the question.
Sorry,
The
you
question
asked
was
if
how
you. Sorry, did you want to say it again?
How do...
Someone else talking. Sorry, groups stand up and stretch.
Yeah. So it was a fantastic question to say how can you access it in different areas. And the wonderful thing about this group program is actually fully online. And we had actually one client that was actually overseas. So you can access it anywhere. It's actually a really simple platform. And we troubleshoot, we're with you to troubleshoot if there's any issues as well. But the feedback has just been wonderful and we've really been excited about this program. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to come talk to us, and then you can actually access it through your NDIS funding. Takes about 7.2 hours of OT services, and we can do that over the 6-week program. Thank you.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Well, with those hours, is that charged at OT rate?
Yes, it is.
Is it per client or for one position?
So it's per client. What we've done is we've done it in a group process so we can actually reduce the cost, and you're doing it with 3 OTs that actually facilitate this. So you've actually got us all that are with you to do that, and it's run over those 6 weeks as well. So
it's about $1,200-$1,500.
I think it's about 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
no,
yeah, and that's one of the benefits to actually do it. So we're sort of trying to reduce the cost as much as possible. And I have to say, the background work that we've done in the background, there's a lot of work in the background as well.
No, that's all fair enough. I'm just confirming that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question.
So look, I think maybe there might be some more questions, so definitely come and connect with the team over that expo period. We're all going to be out there. Any questions you've got actually from this morning's piece, we can tackle over lunchtime as well. Thank you so much. I think for me, what was really interesting there is we talk about some of the origins of MSWA was people with MS coming together to support people with MS, and one of the things I picked up through there was just this idea that people were helping people. Something that's really important, I guess, and it's that unwritten thing that happens across our community. People help people. Now, next, and running up to lunch, we have a presentation here from Jack. Jack's going to talk to you around the new vestibular service. So welcome, Jack. Jack appears to be very popular already.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning, everyone. How are we? Everyone get up. We'll do some stretch first. Take some nice deep breath in and out. Some rotation of your shoulder. Yes, already. That will be going to our Christmas party. All right, please be seated. Yes, my name is Jack. I'm one of the physio who is working at MSWA. I have been working here for more than 3 years. So far, so good. So yes, that was about 1.5 years ago we are looking at creating a new vestibular surface at MSWA. Because of the number of clients that we were seeing coming through with some kind of vestibular disorders, such as vertigo, dizziness, that's what we are going to talk about. It's something about your inner ear, okay? So yes, we do have some kind of clients presenting with vestibular disorders, such as dizziness, vertigo, and motion sensitivities. So we wanted to learn some more about it, and then so that we can offer an opportunity for those clients to have their vestibular disorders looked at and treated, because people having such disorders would have a huge impact on their daily lives. So I went to Adelaide and did some study and become specialized in this area. And we have got this service up and running now. So I'm here today to talk to you some more about our brand new MSWA Vestibular Physiotherapist services. Let's get started. So your learning objective for today is to develop a basic understanding of what vestibular system is, how to diagnose a vestibular disorder, and why we should treat vestibular disorders and how to do so. Now, vestibular systems is a really complex sensory systems located in your inner ear, okay? And it's connected to various parts of the brain. It has the peripheral vestibular system, which is related to your inner ear. It has the central vestibular system, which is related to your brain and spinal cord. The primary functions are to sense the position and the movement of the head in space, to maintain the balance and coordinate movements. Now let's have a look at the inner ear. Now this is your inner ear. Now you can see there's outer ears, middle ears, and inner ear, okay? Within the inner ears, we have 3 semicircular canal around here, the small things. Just remember these things, because we are going to get in touch with that. And then behind that, we will have a vestibular nerve attached to this kind of semicircular canal, okay? Now, this is the actual size of the inner ear. Really tiny. Just 1.5 cm long, okay? But if you do have any problem about this canal or inner ears, it will give you a lot of trouble. The central vestibular system, once you collect all the information from your inner ear, it will get sent to your brain. So once it attached to the brain, it will classify as a central vestibular system, okay? Now, common peripheral vestibular disorder, we are going to talk about the BPPV. So BPPV stands for benign, paroxysmal, positional vertigo. Benign means not life-threatening. Paroxysmal means the symptoms come in sudden and short spells. Positional means certain head position or movement would trigger the symptoms. Vertigo is just a sensation of spinning. Now, remember this tiny semicircular canal? So for a really nice and healthy semicircular canal, it shouldn't have any particle around this area, okay? But for some reason in BPPV, those particles will come out and free floating around in this canal. It could be because of degeneration, it could be because of the head trauma, it could be any reason of that. It came out, and then it will alter the information to connect center to the brain. Then your brain will give you some weird sensation, which is giving you vertigo or spinning sensation. Now, common symptoms in BPPV would be vertigo, pathological nystagmus, which is just like the involuntary eyes movement. It's just like this. It's jumping in a really funny way. And then you may have a dizziness, loss of balance or unsteadiness, nausea or vomiting, okay? Now, how to diagnose BPPV? Well, we do have two common tests, such as Dix-Hallmark test and supine roll test. Basically, we lie you down on your back in a certain angle. We aim at to reproduce your symptoms or vertigo. Now, it's a good thing. I know that having a vertigo is not a good feeling. But if we can reproduce your symptoms, that means we know what's going on. That means we can treat it. Yeah? So treatment-wise, we have the repositional maneuver, which is the epi maneuver or barbecue roll maneuver. Basically, we come from lie you down, move your head into different angle. We're trying to reproduce or reposition those particles back to the place where they live. Now, I'm going to show you some video. Now, these clients have a left side BPPV, and then she has the background of MS, okay? Now, this is the before the treatment or assessment. We're just focusing on these eyes, okay? Now, we're going to light the clients down. You can see the eyes start to jumping around in a funny way. And then the clients also complain about the vertigo feeling, which is not good. And it lasts pretty long. And remember, the client is not moving at all. Yeah? All right. And then I did some treatment with her, around 4 sessions or something like that. And then let's see the result. And I did a reassessment. Same things. We're going to light the clients down and look at these eyes, okay? Anything come out? Nothing. So the problem has been fixed. So this is what happened about our treatment. It's really effective, okay? And then the clients didn't actually complain about the vertigo and spinning or spinning sensation, which means that the treatment was successful. Let's talk about the central vestibular disorder, which is MS. Now, we know that MS is chronic autoimmune disease, which would affect the central nervous system. If you have any damage to the vestibular nerves in the brain or spinal cord, it can cause you vestibular disorders. Treatment-wise, unfortunately, up to date, there's a limited study to provide a clear guideline for me or for us to treat the central vestibular disorders. I think as a physiotherapist, my role, if I see clients presenting with central vestibular disorders, I have to find out the vertigo actually is coming from your inner ear or just purely because your brain or spinal cord problem. If that is an inner ears problem, yes, I can fix it. If that is central problem, I have to send a referral to the GP to have a further investigation. Why should we treat vestibular disorders? Well, number one, symptoms can be very uncomfortable. I guess no one wants to have a vertigo, dizziness, nauseous or vomiting, or some kind of anxiety or panic. Secondly, increase the risk of falls. As you can see, according to one of the research, more than 1 in 2 people who fall have vestibular dysfunction. This is a really high percentage. It's more than 50%. And also, it will reduce your quality of life because if I have vertigo, I won't go out. I will stay home and I'm not doing the things that I like. I'm not able to work. I'm not able to drive. Research-wise, we can see up to 59% of people with MS would experience vestibular symptoms. Stroke-wise, 40%. Parkinson's disease, 20 to 30%. Traumatic brain injuries, roughly around up to 70%. Huntington disease, 15%. That's why we come out with our MSWA vestibular physiotherapy services. We can produce a rapid improvements in your symptoms. We can reduce the need for vertigo-related medication. We can improve your functional outcome, such as reduce the risk of fall, enhancing mobility. We can improve your quality of life. Last but not least, as I show you about the research, there's a growing number of the people with neurological conditions who experience chronic dizziness or vertigo. Despite this, there are currently no vestibular physio services in WA where clients can use their NDIS or healthcare package funding to access these services. Like our other MSWA specialized physio services, such as respiratory, lymphedema, and women's health, we are now the first provider to offer vestibular physio services in WA, where clients can use their NDIS or healthcare package funding to access our services, which is nice, right? So that's why we come up with MSWA Vestibular Physiotherapist Clinic, okay? Now, if you have vertigo, dizziness, involuntary eye movement, motion sensitivities, or chronic unsteadiness, especially with the head movement, now this is the best time for you to contact your CLC, your primary physiotherapist, or exercise physiologist. I'm based at Wilson and Kelmscott. Our service is already up and running now. Hopefully next month, we're going to set up our service in Beachboro and Butler. Another physio, Ashley, is going to run the service. Stage 3, we're going to expand our service in Rockingham and Mandurah, okay? Acknowledgement. I would like to thank physiotherapist Emily Lee, senior physiotherapist Marga, and clinical team lead Randall for contributing to this project. I would like to thank our lovely physiotherapy and exercise physiologist services manager, James Becker, for all the encouragement and support to this project. I also would like to thank MSWA and management team for all the funding support for this project. Last but not least, I would like to thank AP8 for providing the 6 days competency-based course in Adelaide. Now, this is a group picture taken during our time in Adelaide. The professors and lecturers sitting in the front row, they are all come from America. So they are the experts in this vestibular rehab. So I'm very grateful to have such chance, to have had such great opportunity to learn from them and become specialized in this area. Any questions?
Will you be looking into having regional clients be able to access the service eventually?
That is our idea as well. Once we set up the Beachboro and Mandurah and Rockingham, we're trying to our best to set up the regional services as well. Yeah, it's going to be. We got the idea about there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Do we just need to speak to our LLC to include it in our NDIS program, or can it just be normal part of your physiotherapy?
So I'm your physio, so basically keep it simple. You can speak to me, I can organize an appointment with you.
Okay, yeah. And does that get it put into your plan?
Yes, we can try to write about vestibular services in your NDIS report, and hopefully we can get some funding around there.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really want you to go into the whole program or anything, but what do you actually have to do to try and improve your vestibular problems?
So I have to, if you do have any vestibular problem, I have to find out the way to, or did the assessment to find out what actually causing your vertigo. You know, sometimes it's because of your inner ear, or is it purely because of your MS or other neurological conditions? And then after that, I will give you the idea what treatment we can provide.
When you provide the treatment, what do you do? Knock people down?
Yes, that is one of the treatment. We lie the clients down and then we move the head into different position. Another treatment-wise, we can have an exercise to do. And also depends on what causing your problem, because if you have vestibular hypofunction, like you said, we do have the exercise for you to do. I know that it's really hard to explain to you. So we got a table around that corner in the lunchtime. I can explain you to some more about it if you want to explore some more. Does it make sense? Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. As I say, most popular man I know today. And look, this is my second client forum, and it's not lost on me that every time I come, and as I say, it's only my second, but this sort of breadth of service that was there, this breadth of allied health clinical nursing service, the fact that we're pushing those boundaries, we're looking for the different things that help. It's not just the basic stuff. So I'm always super impressed and very much in awe of my clinical colleagues that do these things. So well done, Jack, and well done, the team. We're going to take a short break now for the lunch. Welcome back, everybody. I'll give you a few moments to settle before we get going. And I won't feel the urge to fill the space with singing or dancing, because none of you need to hear or see that. Okay, so the slot straight after lunch is normally the hardest one to fill because everyone's got a full tummy and they want to go to sleep, which is actually really appropriate because we're now going to have a conversation about the improved sleep health, and I'd like to welcome to stage Dr. Mitchell Turner from the SPIN program and Sarah, one of our very own occupational therapists, to present this to you. And I'm sure they won't put you to sleep.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming along. I might just give people a few seconds just to jump in. I think there's people just grabbing their seats. As mentioned, my name's Mitchell, and I'm a sleep scientist at Edith Cowan University, and I'm a member of the SPIN research team. Our team, SPIN stands for Systematic Profiling in Neurological Conditions. It's a mouthful, so we just call ourselves SPIN research team. And I'm going to talk today about a project that we're excited to be running at the moment called Improved Sleep Health. Now, it's not just me on this project. We've got a whole team involved. We've got Leah Dempsey, who's here today with me, who's the study coordinator on this one. And we're also partnering with the MSWOT department in Sarah and her colleagues. So we're quite excited to share with you this study today. So I'm going to first off talk about why we're doing a study called Improved Sleep Health and what it's about. We know from some work that we've done recently in a priority setting study that sleep and fatigue issues are the #2 priority for people with the neurodegeneration. And this research was led by Leah. And so it really highlighted to us the importance of trying to find solutions to improve people's sleep and combat their fatigue and sleepiness during the day. We also know from research in various populations that if we have poor sleep, we're also going to have poor physical function and capacity the next day. We're going to have poor mental and cognitive function, and we've heard about the importance of cognitive function and performance earlier on today. And it can also negatively affect our mental health as well. One thing that's unique or specific to the neurological population, and in particular MS, is that if we have poor sleep on an ongoing basis, it can actually also exacerbate our neurological symptoms. Okay, so it can make the symptoms of MS worse if we've had a poor night's sleep compared to if we're sleeping well. So it's really important that we have good night's sleep and we have what we call good sleep health. So to do this, we created this study called Improved Sleep Health, and this is a multi-stage approach to the problem. And what I mean by that is we are asking people to come in and do questionnaires, or actually we don't have to come in anywhere, they do them at home. We then are providing people a report and information based on these questionnaires, and then they have the option to do what we call objective assessments. And this is to wear a device when they sleep so that we can measure how their sleep is each night and also their sleep environment as well. Okay, but this is an optional process. So some people choose to go on and do this part, and some people are just happy to do the questionnaires. Okay, so it's completely up to them. The questionnaires that we ask people include 2 questionnaires that look at the risk of having a sleep disorder. These are called the Insomnia Severity Index and the Stop Bang. And obviously the first one looks at the risk of insomnia, okay, which is basically people can't fall asleep or stay asleep. The second, the Stop Bang questionnaire, this looks at the risk of something called sleep apnea. This is a breathing condition where people stop breathing for short periods of time during the night, and then it causes them to have a lot of awakenings throughout the night. So very disrupted sleep. The next 2 questionnaires are around sleep health, and this looks at things like sleep duration, so how long you're sleeping for, and also sleep quality. And the final questionnaire is around sleep environment. This is a little bit misleading because this questionnaire actually looks at environment and behaviours. So, is your room too hot? Is it too cold? Is there noise? Have you got a bed partner with you that's snoring or moving and keeping you awake? All these sort of things that could be disrupting your sleep. Now, this is an image of the report provide you after doing these questionnaires. All the information on this report is visually represented, and it's in different scales. So either low risk or, good sleep health, or high risk or maybe, poor sleep health. And we provide you with some summary of these results. So we don't expect you to understand all the metrics or the questions from these questionnaires, but we'll provide you with a summary of what it means and what we would recommend you to do moving forwards. If you choose to go on and do the objective sleep assessments, and this might be something that we would recommend to you in the report, you'll get given what's called a SomFit device. Now, this is an at-home PSG, which is a polysomnography. So think about if you go to a sleep clinic and you see them put wires all over the person and monitor them sleeping overnight. This device is doing the same thing. Okay, we can't get every little bit of detail that in-clinic assessment can, but we can still get a fair idea. And it's just simply an electrode that sticks onto your forehead. So you can see it pictured here, and the gentleman, and we've got a couple of them out in the expo as well. So if you do want to come out and see one in person, please come and speak to us after, and we can show you that. This is a great device because we can get sleep stages, we can get information about how you're breathing during the night, we can get information about your sleep quality and any awakenings that you might be having. And we can also test this over multiple nights. So the problem with going to a sleep clinic is that you go, I actually slept really well that night, but normally I sleep terribly, I promise. But they go, well, we've only got the information from this one night, so that's all we can base it on. Whereas we're going to do an assessment for 7 nights, okay? So we can get a good idea of how you're sleeping over the week. The other device that we're using is called a Hobo device. It's a very unfortunate name. We did not come up with that. But it's a light and temperature sensor. And this is so we can get some information about your sleeping environment. It simply sits next to your bedside table or somewhere close to where you're sleeping, and it just gives us a reading of temperature and lux, which is a light measure. So we can start to say, actually, we think your room might be a bit too hot to be sleeping in tonight, or we think you've actually got a lot of light exposure throughout the night. It might be a street light outside, or it might be that you've got a security light that flicks on through the window. Different things like that have come up in some of our findings so far. We'll then provide you with the report that encompasses all the information that we get from these 2 devices. It is very comprehensive. I can't put it all here. It's 15 pages long. We'll provide you with a summary again at the start, which summarises all the information and gives you the key points that are for you to consider. The reason we give you everything is that we would recommend that you use this report to take to your health professional, maybe your OT here at MSWA, or maybe a GP, or if you've got a neurologist you want to go and speak to as well, that you can go and give that report to them. And you might say, hey, look, they've told me that I might be at high risk of having sleep apnea. What do you think? They can then look at the report, they might go, that's great, but they might want to actually look at specific metrics that have been collected, and they go, okay, based on this information, now I can prescribe a treatment or something like that. So we give you all the information so you can use that to take to your health professional, and it hopefully will be beneficial for you in the long run. All right, I've got some questions for you guys now, a bit of a pop quiz. First off, how long should it take you to fall asleep at night? So when you lay down in bed and you're trying to fall asleep, how long should you lay there for? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? 5, 10? That's good. 5-10, that's quick. So anything less than 30 minutes is in the recommended range, okay? So if you're taking 20-25 minutes to fall asleep, you may perceive this as like, I might have insomnia, this isn't great. You're actually still within the normal ranges of time it's taken to fall asleep, okay? So it's not until we start getting sort of above 45 minutes to, to an hour that we will start to say that it's becoming a real problem then. Next question, how much time awake should you have each night? So this is after you've fallen asleep and before you wake up for the final time in the morning. How much time awake should you have during the night? None is ideal, yes, yep. How much would be within realms of? Yeah. 5 minutes? An hour? Oh, okay. So we've got a bit of a range. Some people are saying none, some people are saying 5 minutes to an hour. So we're looking at anything less than 20 minutes, okay? Now, these aren't always conscious awakenings. You might, Basil's onto it. You might find that you're tossing and turning throughout the night a little bit, and you might not always remember waking up, but often people will have awakenings throughout the night, even if it's only for a couple of minutes, okay? So up to 20 minutes, again, is sort of within that recommended range. And then finally, how much sleep do adults need each night? What's the recommended range? 7 to 8, 6 to 8, 10? Anyone got anything different? It's funny, I do a lot of these presentations to people in the mining industry, and without fail, they tell me 4 to 5 hours is fine each night. Yeah, so 7 to 9 hours is our recommended range, okay? So there are some people that can get away with slightly less, so 6 to 7 hours may be appropriate for some, and there are some people, though, that will need more. So that 9 to 10 hours, there are a lot of people, especially sort of high-level athletes, will be looking for 9 to 10 hours per night. But this is something for the general population, 7 to 9. All right. So I'm going to give you some data from participants that we've collected already in this study. So we've had almost 50 people come through with a neurological condition. This study is open for anyone with a neurological condition, ages between the ages of 18 and 85. Okay, so there is no exclusion criteria for this outside of the age range of 18 to 85. It is also available for people working with or caring for people with a neurological condition. Okay, so any husbands, wives, caregivers of any sort can also participate in this study. We find it quite useful that when there's someone with a neurological condition completing it, that their husband or wife can also complete it with them, so they can sort of even compare some results at the end and have a bit of a competition to see who sleeps best. But from the information we've got, we see that around 22% of people are having a high risk of sleep apnea, that's that breathing difficulty throughout the night, and there's also over half the people are having clinical insomnia. Okay, this is either a moderate to severe risk of clinical insomnia. The other metric there around sleep health of 63 out of 100. To put that into comparison, the general population are looking at around 75 to 76 out of 100. So it is slightly below what we're seeing in the general population. And that's the really important thing about this study, is that we can start to get some normative data for the neurological community. Right now, we're comparing all your sleep data to the general population, and it may not be appropriate. Some metrics might be appropriate, but other things like awakenings, as I'll show you, might not be. Yep. Yep.
What's happening if they have the CPAP machine
Yep.
or a medication for sleep? Is still
Yep.
going into the research or not?
Yeah, so if you're currently receiving treatment for a sleep disorder, you're perfectly fine to still participate. That's not a problem. The CPAP machine obviously is a continuous positive airway pressure device, which basically forces the air down into your lungs. That's the main source of treatment for sleep apnea, but it's still fine to participate in the study. Yeah, we've had a few people already do that. So you can see from the data that we've collected already, sleep latency, which is a measure of how long it takes you to fall asleep, we're within the recommended range. So we're looking 20 minutes there, which is great to see. Wake after sleep onset though, this is the number of awakenings or amount of time spent awake after initially falling asleep. We're seeing roughly about 70 minutes per night. Okay, now remember I told you less than 20 minutes is ideal for the general population. So this is much higher, and this is something that we want to explore a bit further and try and even come up with some normative data for the neurological community. Total sleep time, we're not too bad. We're looking at about 6.8 hours, so nearly 7 hours. So that's good to see. The final one is an apnea-hypopnea index, and this is an indication of sleep apnea, okay? This score shows that the people that have come through our study have a based on the Somfit device, very high chance of having obstructive sleep apnea. And this may be explaining why they're awake for so long during the night, okay? So hopefully this information can then be passed on to their health professional. Some other things I'll just quickly run through because I don't know how I'm going for time. Am I going over? Am I going over? Environmental factors that we're seeing as being issues for people is temperature is the main one that we're seeing reported as the biggest problem for people to fall asleep and stay asleep. Okay, there are some other things like light, noise, snoring, but temperature has been self-reported as the biggest issue when it comes to falling asleep. When it comes to behaviours, the use of internet or computer devices or music and TV are the highest rated behavioural issues. It's important to say that these aren't always necessarily a bad thing, okay? Listening to music for some people may be a way for them to relax and help them fall asleep. So we're not trying to sit here and say that it's a negative, but these are just the behaviours that have been reported the most before going to bed. The final thing I just want to mention before I pass on to Sarah is we are really excited with this study. We've had some good uptake from the community. We are hoping to expand this into more regional areas. At the moment, it's only available for the metropolitan area. And we're also hoping to add in follow-up assessments if possible in the future. But yes, it's a really exciting study. If you do want to get involved, we've got information sheets out in our stall, and it is fully remote as well, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. But thank you for listening to me. I'll pass on to Sarah now.
Hi everyone, so I'm Sarah, I'm one of the occupational therapists at MSWA. I just wanted to quickly talk about how this then works at MSWA and how it integrates with our OT services. So going through the Improved Sleep Health study helps us to firstly facilitate discussions and interventions based on the findings. So we know that sleep difficulties kind of fall into three main areas. So medically, like Mitchell talked about, they can highlight if it's insomnia related or sleep apnea related or maybe medication related that's impacting your sleep. And then we can refer on to a GP or neurologist or your nurse to help with that medical kind of side of things. And then environmentally, like Mitchell said, things like light and noise and temperature can be impacting your sleep. So we can kind of have a discussion about how we can help there. And then behaviourally, we can look at things like sleep hygiene and your sleep behaviours, that routine before bed, and how we can change that to improve your quality of sleep as well. And I wanted to quickly talk about some of the common impacts of sleep in neurological conditions. So these are lots of the things that from this study we're discussing with our clients more and more, and what lots of people with neuroconditions are saying is really impacting their sleep. So we know that things like pain and tingling and numbness can really impact sleep, and for those things it can be medical, so it might be referring to that GP or neurologist to review and see if there's anything else that can be done. But a lot of the time it can also be maybe position related in bed, so we can look at the actual equipment that you're sleeping on and that sleep surface, and if there's a way that can help to alleviate some of that pain or tingling or numbness. We know continence is a huge impact. Someone said before, you might be getting up multiple times during the night to go to the toilet. So again, we can refer to our nursing continence service to see if there's any continence aids that might help, or again, look at equipment to maybe make toileting a bit more accessible for you as well. Lots of people will say things like, I'm just uncomfortable or I'm just a bit restless overnight. So we can actually work out, okay, we can have conversations to figure out what does that mean? Is it one of these other factors that's making you uncomfortable or restless, and how can we address that in the best way? We know that fatigue is a huge factor for neurological conditions, so we can kind of look at if that fatigue is maybe meaning that you're napping during the day, which might be impacting sleep routines, or other fatigue management strategies that might help as well. Things like light, you might need light to make sure that you can mobilise effectively, but is that then impacting your sleep, and what can we do there? We know mobility is obviously a huge factor, so making sure that you're safe getting in and out of bed and moving around in bed. Again, we can look at equipment and specific devices to help with that, which can then improve your quality of sleep because you're less uncomfortable and anxious about having to move around or get out of bed. Temperature, like Mitchell said, is a huge one for this population, and I'll touch on in my next slide a little bit some of the assistive technology that we can use in this area. We know anxiety can be huge in sleep as well. A lot of the time, if you're getting poor quality sleep, you might be anxious about getting poor quality sleep. So we can look at maybe some of these other areas and how they might help to alleviate that anxiety, or also refer to counselling for help as well. Things like night terrors can also be very specific to certain conditions like Parkinson's. So again, looking at how we can address this and making that sleep environment supportive and safe for you as well. Just to quickly touch on temperature and thermoregulation, because this is a huge area, I just wanted to very briefly show you some of the assistive tech that can help. So things like the BedJet system and HydroSense system are ways to have either cooling air or water running in your sleep surface, so either blowing cool air over you or sleeping on a nice cooling mattress pad with the HydroSense, which can help with that thermoregulation overnight. We could also look at getting things like a portable aircon or a split system if your sleep room is, or your bedroom is quite uncomfortable, and also thermoregulating sheets to keep you in that kind of more neutral temperature. So all of these things are accessible through NDIS and different funding bodies, and we can have a chat about this as well. So thanks so much for listening today, and we're really hopeful that this project can help to improve your quality of sleep, and there's all of our details. Thank you. Yes, any questions?
Obviously a very rested bunch, well done. Thank you, Sarah Mitchell. Not lost on me the value of sleep, having got 4 kids, one who's still 4, I don't get enough. Now I'd like to introduce you to someone from our residential team. I'd like to introduce you to Paula Kennedy, who's going to come and chat to us about the offerings we have in our residential space. Paula's come all the way up from Treendale today, so thank you, Paula, for making the journey up. And over to you.
So like a lot of the presenters, I'm not necessarily brilliantly technology, so I apologise if I make any mistakes or I'm flicking through the slides. So as Simon said, my name is Paula. I'm the manager of Treendale Gardens, which is our accommodation and respite site down in Australind. We do have a number of sites that I'm sure most people are aware of. We have a site in Bunbury, goodness me, in Butler, and in Hamilton Hill, Fern River, which is near Wilson, and we've also got a couple more places, Albany, and we've got a couple more places about to be built as well. So we've got a Montero Quarter going up in Shenton Park, and we have the perspective of an area, Golden Bay, down near Mandurah, coming along. City Beach. I'm getting to respite. So I'm going to talk about the accommodation facilities first, and then we'll have I'm not going to be very long, so you're all right. And then we're going to have a quick chat about respite as well. So one of the things I want to say is why choose accommodation? Why do people need to look at an accommodation site with MSWA? So sometimes it's related to the location of where they currently live, and where they're living, their needs have increased and we can't get enough support services in, so they might need 24-hour care. They might have a change of home circumstances where their primary carer can no longer assist them for various reasons. They might want to live closer to the other family as well, but need 24-hour support, and also accessibility of their own home. So at some stage people, I don't know about anybody else, but houses get built, often corridors are quite thin, doors aren't very wide, accessibility into bedrooms, stairs, people have multiple storey houses, those sorts of things. So that's just some of the reasons why people choose accommodation with us. We have people who come and live with us with different neurological conditions, and that's been the way with the accommodation sites the whole time. It's not just people with MS. We have people who have high care needs. For example, at Treendale, we've got clients with progressive neurological conditions like MS, motor neuron disease. We've had some people with Parkinson's, but also people who have stayed with us that have had strokes or spinal injuries. Who are our staff? So each site has 24-hour care with care support workers who are trained in supporting people with neurological conditions and high support needs for their disability. And they all get regular training and refreshers to maintain and improve their skills and knowledge. Most of the facilities have a really good theatre and communal area for the residents to take full advantage of. So you've got your one-bedroom unit, which has got a sitting area, a small kitchen area, and a bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. But there's also communal areas where activities take place, organised by wonderful activity staff members or the care support workers that are working there. And each site has fabulous cooks who prepare meals for the residents, and they work with the dietitians and the speech pathologists to make sure they're getting good nutritional meals. Some of the facilities do lunch and dinner, some of them only do dinner. So there's a variety going on there. Anyone who's interested in coming to have a look, even if you're not thinking of moving into one of our accommodation facilities in the near future, more than welcome for people to make an appointment. And have a look around. One of our staff will show you and give you the information that you need. There is a wait list for people to come and move in, but if you are interested, please feel free to speak to your CLC, your support coordinator, or even get in touch with client engagement team and ask them to get the ball rolling for you if you're interested. So now I've got some photos. So this is some photos from the Butler accommodation, some outside and inside. So it's a purpose-built 10-bed facility, was built in 2019, and each room has its one-bedroom unit. I think we've got that written on the next slide. There we go. Saved me doing quite so much talking. And the advantage that Butler has is it's right next door to the service centre. So the residents can actually go just across the car park, and they've got the physio, OT, speech, social support coordination and outreach all right there, right nearby. Okay. No, that's fine. Yes, they have. They've just started that trial, haven't they, Millie? Just in the last month or so, with the outreach, and apparently it's going great guns. So we have Fern River, which I was saying before. Fern River's down near our Wilson area. Okay. So there's six. This one is a little bit different from everybody else's because it's actually 6 units. They're not all under the same roof, whereas our other facilities are under the same roof. 2 single and 4 shared. It is a nice homely atmosphere, and the staff are, as I said, for everyone else, there to support all the people who live there and their families that come to visit. And Danuta has written here, come and be part of their loving community. We all have a loving community. Danuta's actually said so. Wanted to talk about what support we provide at each of the sites. So I've mentioned the 24-hour care support, worker support. We have qualified nurses who are available at each site. They're not currently 24/7, but there's someone at each facility who's on call 24/7. So if there's any need to get someone to have a talk with, they can reach out. The support workers can talk to that. They're also there for clinical needs like catheter needs, bowel needs, and maybe complex wound dressings. We all have a really great rapport with the allied health team, and regularly they come to visit. We make appointments, and our residents will go and see them either at their own hubs or, like I said, they'll make appointments and come and see. At Treendale, our OTs are there at least weekly, assessing people and making some changes as well. And we also work well with our community team, and I know we've got a couple here, to organise so clients still get social support. So when you live in an accommodation facility, you still have access to social support. You can still go and do all the activities that you would do if you were living still in your own home. We've got people who go to regular football matches. They go to their families' events. We've got one lady actually at Treendale who's booked to go to a concert later on this month. People go to galleries and museums, but everyone loves the shopping. Everyone always wants to go to the shops. We do have a really good shopping centre right nearby in Treendale, but they have the same thing with all of the facilities. Down button. There we go. So Hamilton Hill is a 2-house facility, 6 beds in, or rooms in one and 5 in the other. And that recently has had some renovations and some changes there. And okay, so now I'm a bit biased because this is Treendale. As you can see from the photos on here, I've got a couple of photos where we've got the clients who've been involved in some activities. So our activities supervisor, support worker, we had like a Olympic and Paralympic style events. We didn't have any javelin throwing because we decided that might be a little bit dangerous inside. But we had some 10-pin bowling and some, what do we call that? Sandbag darts, those sorts of things, and we had trophies and medals awarded for different activities. We also had recently some terrarium building, so each of the clients, if they wanted to be involved, we had some people come in who had done this before and organised, everyone made some terrariums, and then there's also a photo of the lounge area for one of the units. The great thing about the units is that people can actually style it so that it's personalised to themselves. I usually say that as long as it's legal and it's not going to affect the building, you can make the changes you need with some conversation. So Treendale was built in 2012. It's 11-bedded, and like all the other places, each person's got their own bedroom unit with an ensuite and a common roof. In 2023, full internal decor change, fabulous, got rid of the carpet, which is always difficult to keep clean, and located right next to Good Park and shopping centre, and an award-winning pub. So a lot of our residents like to go down the pub, and the food is fabulous. It's close enough for me to go for a meal as well. One of our most recent selling points is we finally had Wi-Fi available in both facilities, both accommodation and respite. Has been a bit of a project for us to get Wi-Fi available. We've now got that for everybody. So now, Mariana, we're going to talk about some respite. So we do have currently 2 dedicated respite sites, Margaret Doody House in City Beach, and again in the wonderful Treendale. I will continue to be a little bit biased. Margaret Doody House is a beautiful house that was renovated and available for generally 5 clients. And Treendale has 6-bedded building. We've got, I just want to talk about why people choose respite, because not everyone sort of thinks in advance on why would I want to go to respite? Do I need to go? And we do have people who have low support needs all the way through to people who need high support needs for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's a break for their primary carer or carers. They might want to change of environment for themselves just to recharge batteries. Something a little bit like a change, like a holiday. People who live in a different area, they might want to meet up with family, and it's a good place because it's purpose-built or purpose-set up so that it's accessible. A lot of people's houses are not necessarily accessible for people who are in wheelchairs or use walkers, and so it's a nice drop-off point there. Maybe your primary carer is going on holiday, or maybe having some planned surgery. And we've also, with Treendale, we have people who come and stay with us for a couple of nights if they've got health appointments in Bunbury, so they might come and stay with us for a few nights, and they cluster all their appointments. They might come up from Margaret River or further south and come and stay at Treendale. In fact, we have some people who actually stay with us on their way through to Perth for the same reason. And the last one worth considering is when people are having home renovations. Especially, you know, that a lot of people, as their needs change, bathrooms and bedrooms need renovating. So we do get a number of people in both facilities where they're having some planned home renovations where they've come and stayed. So I've got a couple of pictures there of Treendale now as well. Sorry, still showing my bias, more photos from Treendale than anybody else. I just want to say that with both the respite sites, the rooms have all got electric hoists, ceiling hoists and electric beds, TV, air conditioning, and as I said before, now with Wi-Fi. We know that actually at Treendale that's been a problem, where a few people have been reluctant to come down because of lack of Wi-Fi, and we know that this is very important in a lot of people's lives these days to be able to connect with others, especially if they're away from their family, but also to be able to access some of the services they use when they're at home. Both areas have a communal lounge with recliners where you can sit and relax for as long as you like. And the friendly and experienced staff, they're the same as our accommodation facilities. They receive regular training and refreshers to make sure that we keep them upskilled and maintain their skills. Again, highlights for Treendale. I've been asking Vinishri if I can talk for quite some time at a client forum, so I thought I'm going to take advantage and just keep plugging Treendale as much as I can. I do love City Beach and Nellie as well, but I'm going to plug. So on weekdays, the activities support coordinator works out of accommodation, but she's always actively encouraging anyone who's in respite, if you want to come and join it, or sometimes we actually have the activities over in respite as well. We do have a cohort of ladies, of 4 to 6 ladies that come 2 or 3 times a year, and yeah, they almost run the activities when they're in, and they always have some really good ideas that they help out with. Again, located right near the shopping centre and the excellent award-winning hotel. And family and friends are welcome to visit. Doesn't either of the sites, obviously, but you're more than welcome to come and visit and stay for, not overnight though, not enough room, sorry. And there's multiple covered outdoor areas as well, where you don't have to be inside your room or inside the building. We've got undercover areas, which was actually renovated a couple of years ago, the main one. So it's got some giant outdoor fans and some nice sitting areas, which is nice for having meals, or especially if you've got people that come and visit. And people, when they're in respite too, sometimes the family will bring their pets, so it's actually nice to be able to sit outside and be able to sit with the pets. Promise you this is the last photo of Treendale. So this is the outdoor area I was just talking about. It's so relaxing, even the staff sit there. Yes, that is a stage photo. So, inquiries for respite. So you can, anyone can contact our respite sites directly and make some inquiries, or you can liaise through your support coordinator or your CLC and ask them to make those inquiries for you if you'd feel more comfortable. There is also some email addresses that I've neglected to put on this, but I do have some handouts if anyone is interested in getting some information. But the phone numbers are there and we can always send you more as well. Just to remember that we accept admissions, but we need at least 2 weeks' notice if you've been to respite in the last 12 months. But 4 weeks' notice if you haven't been to respite before or haven't been for a few years. And this is to ensure that all the eligibility criteria and documentation is correct and available from all the healthcare professionals, as well as so we can safely assist everyone. So sometimes it is down to funding, which is unfortunate, but we do have to talk about that. But a lot of the time it's making sure that if you need assistance with transfers, that we know that it can be done safely. OTs have sent us mobility plans, speech pathologists have sent us mealtime support plans on those sorts of things. Okay. That's the end. Now, but I know that one of the important questions is, what bit of fabulous artwork is that and where can I buy that? That's me painting by numbers when I had COVID. So Any questions?
Hi, just a question concerning Shenton Park. What is happening at the moment? When is it going to be completed? When is it high rise, single level? Yep.
That's okay. Shenton Park is a 2-storey facility. It's going to have 20 units in it. A number of people are moving over from the Quad Centre. I think there are about 10 people, Vanessa? 12, thank you. 12 people moving over from the Quad Centre. We also have a wait list for people to move in there. But I'll tell Vanessa. Noted, Vanessa. Yes, so we do have people on the wait list for that area. It's a really lovely facility. It's next to a big open park where there's wheelchair access into the park where you can go into it's kind of wildlands. Vanessa, what else should I mention about... Sorry? Timing, oh yes, timing. Was that the question? I should have listened more carefully. The end of next year, I think, is the current due date, but if you've got any confidence in construction, I would say that is, 2026, not next year. I kind of thought we were already in 2025 to end of 2026. And it may be a bit longer than that if you know building timelines that sometimes go over, but that is the time at the moment, is the end of 2026. Any other questions on Montario? Will it have pool, hydro pool for exercise? No, it doesn't have a hydro pool for exercise. It does have a gym and it does have exercise facilities in there. And we will be able to bring therapists in. It will have therapist rooms. I'm just keep checking that the 3 in the back are nodding at me and that I'm not telling porcupines as that. But yes, there will be therapy rooms in there.
But there's a hydro pool at Arthritis WA just there in Shenton Park.
That's correct.
Not
So
far away.
we do use, thank you for that. Gosh, what a teamwork here. We do, thank you. Yes, we do use other, there's lots of places nearby where we can go and use other therapies and take clients to them. Any other questions? Okay, Vanessa, Carol, Crystal, anything I haven't said that I should have? Oh, there you go. Phew.
Lovely. Thank you, Paula. I think, look, you're very... You're very entitled to be biased about Trindale. You and the team do an amazing job down there, so thank you. And that's true across all of our sites. There's amazing teams doing amazing work.
Thank you. We have to reach taxis.
No worries. Thank you, and thank you for coming. One of the things that kind of I was reflecting on there is what I do quite like, well, not I do quite like, what I do like about the whole process is it's a house, it's your home, decorate it, that's, Paula was very clear about that, and it isn't a facility, it's your home. Now, next up, our second last session for the day. I'd like to invite Professor Jenny Rogers to the stage, and assistant, apologies. So Jenny is here to talk to us today, and I am going to leave that as a nice surprise for you.
Thank you. I was a bit younger in that photo. Research takes its toll. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for staying to the end of the day. I'm in a really privileged position to talk to you about some of the research that we've been doing into multiple sclerosis and more generally about what my lab does. So I'm sure there are many familiar faces in the audience today, and I'm going to start off with some of the same slides that you've seen before, so I apologize for the repetition. But I hope also there's a bit of a nice sense of familiarity, that you know what I'm doing, you're aware of what my lab is doing, and we really hope to maintain that really close relationship with you. Josh, who will be talking in the second half of the session now, will also tell us a little bit about how you've been involved in our research, and that we're really grateful for that. So my lab focuses on brain plasticity, which is the ability of the brain to change over time. And at the end of a difficult morning of listening to lots of talks, engaging with lots of people, your brains are probably not the same as they were this morning, because our brains change throughout life. The analogy that I use is of a city with a lot of roads and places that get used a lot and that are really busy need really complicated roads so that they can branch off and go in different directions and support all of the activities that are needed. But our brains initially all start off with one single road going in one different direction, and the more that our brains and our experiences build up ourselves, our personalities, our characteristics, the brain needs to build more roads to support all of those things. So eventually, our brain turns into a beautiful city that's got lots of building that's ongoing constantly to support our new experiences, but it also gets rid of the old bits that we may not need anymore. So it's in constant change, and that's what we have throughout our lifetime. And that gives us a lot of hope that when, for example, there is a metro station that would close down or a flood so that the roads from one end to another are blocked, the brain can find a way to bypass that. You put in a bus route to go around the closing down of a train station. Nobody really likes bus routes. They're not very convenient. They're not as quick and effective as trains, but they get you there. And that's why the brain is such an amazing place, because it is plastic and it can build around injuries to get you from one place to another. And that's the main focus of my research, trying to make sure that if anything does go wrong in the brain, we can find ways around that to either repair that broken down train station or to bypass it altogether and get people to the place they need to be. One of the things that I found very fascinating and unexpected in the research that I do is that it's not just about the nerve cells, the neurons in the brain. They're the ones that everybody always thinks about because they have electrical activity. They're the ones that carry the information. Well, they're not really the most important cells in the brain. They work as part of a team, just like we've heard today. You know, there's a big team supporting you to do what you need to do. And in the brain, it's the same thing. If we want to build the analogy of the road a little bit more, the neurons might be the bitumen that, get the cars and so on to where they're going. But you also have all of the water pipes that, carry water from one city to another. You might have trees that make the road look beautiful and shade it to protect it. You might have fences down the side to keep the cars and pedestrians separate, and so on and so forth. And in exactly the same way, in the brain, it's not just about the neurons, which, I don't know if you can see my cursor. The neurons are the blue ones on the left there that have that long axon that carry information. It's also about the cells that support those neurons. So the astrocytes give the neurons chemicals that they need to make signals, but the oligodendrocytes are the key ones that you probably all know about, because those are the cells that wrap around the neurons and produce myelin, which is a really, really important compound that allows neurons to act quickly. So the messages get quickly from the brain within the brain and to the rest of your body when a lot of myelin is wrapped around their axons. So in order for the road in the brain to be plastic, we need all of those cells to work together to build a brain that is functional and flexible and can respond to the environment. So if we want our brains throughout life to be beautiful, sustainable cities, ones that can allow us to live in harmony with our environment, to continue to be productive and happy in our lives, we need to be able to harness that plasticity, not just from the neurons, but also from all of the other different brain cells that are involved. It's got to involve the astrocytes, it's got to involve the oligodendrocytes. Those blood vessels as well are really, really important for getting energy around the brain. So this is what we do in my lab using repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. And one of the best ways we know of to harness brain plasticity is physical exercise. But that's not available to everybody. We all do our best to be physically active. We try to exercise, we go to the gym, hydrotherapy pool was mentioned before, but that isn't available to everybody. And some people really cannot engage in physical activity to a point that gives benefits to the brain. Every little bit helps, but to a certain extent, you really need to engage in activity. And so by using electromagnetic stimulation, what we can do is directly put electrical activity into the brain so that it mimics the benefits of physical activity. The other advantage of this approach is that it isn't just targeting the nerve cells. A lot of medications for neurological conditions will target nerve cells because that's what people tend to focus on. But by targeting the entire brain tissue, we're activating all of the different cells and hopefully helping them to work together to sustain that brain plasticity. So what is repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation? Essentially, it's a way of getting electricity inside the brain without having to put electrodes on the surface and deliver electricity that can be really painful and sometimes cause seizures. So what we do is we use a coil, which is that figure of 8 thing that's shown above the head there, and we put electricity through that coil. That will then generate a magnetic field, which can go straight into the brain with no sensation and no pain at all. It bypasses the pain receptors on your skull altogether. And the magnetic field then makes an electrical current generate inside your brain. So it's like it jumps across the barrier of the skull, that really thick layer of bone and fluid, and it goes straight into the brain. And so because we're taking advantage of electromagnetism, it's completely non-invasive. So we don't have to drill holes in your skull. We don't have to plug you into anything. It's just putting a coil above your head, and the magnetic field does the rest. I should point out, it's not like the fridge magnets that you get on your fridge. It's nothing to do with that. It is the same sort of technology that's used in MRI machines. So in MRI, you use very strong magnetic fields to image the brain, but here we're using them slightly differently to be able to activate the brain instead. But it's the same sort of technology. So it is non-invasive, which is really good. You can receive magnetic stimulation to the brain, and with no anesthetic, you get up and you leave, walk out, drive your own car home. So it's really a very easy to administer and receive treatment. It has long-lasting plasticity effects, so we can measure them directly in the brain for about 30 to 40 minutes after the stimulation. But the more you receive, the more it accumulates, and over a long period of time, it's been shown to be very effective in treating mental illness, and in particularly depression. It's thought to rewire the pathways that are involved in mood regulation and emotional processing. So those long-lasting effects of RTMS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, are known to be really, really powerful already in some conditions. It is FDA approved for depression in America. It's been approved for about 20 years, and just in 2021, it's now on the Medicare rebate schedule, but only for treating depression. So we know that this is a really safe and effective treatment for depression. But what we don't know is what other conditions it can be used for. So I'm going to hand over to Josh at this point to tell you about some of his research, which is looking more into the MS space. So Josh is a PhD student in my lab. He's in his first year, and he's doing some really exciting projects that I'm very proud of him.
Thank you, Jenny. So to get into things, just looking a little bit deeper at TMS itself. So TMS, as Jenny mentioned, is sort of we're inducing an electrical field within the brain and then activating different neurons underneath, right? And that TMS is then able to sort of harness the normal communication patterns within the brain, right? So we're able to stimulate different neurons, and they're able to communicate with each other based on that. So we're then able to induce what Jenny was again talking about, which is neuroplasticity, right? Which is, yeah, very, very interesting, and Jenny explored that completely, so I won't go into it further. But more interestingly for MS, or multiple sclerosis, obviously, TMS has been found to affect oligodendrocytes within the brains of mice. So in various studies, TMS has been found to increase oligodendrocyte survival, myelin production, and remyelination or myelin repair capacity. So, and these are all associated with sort of remission from MS, sort of, or repair of oligodendrocytes. So, based on this research, human trials have begun, known as the TAURUS trials, or the magnetic brain stimulation for people with multiple sclerosis trials. And phase 1 trials have found TMS to be well tolerated and safe in people with multiple sclerosis, with phase 2 trials ongoing. And these phase 2 trials should be able to tell us whether TMS will be effective in people with MS, or within perhaps you in the audience, hopefully, which you may have participated in this trial as well. But there's still a lot we don't know about TMS and oligodendrocytes. For instance, the main sort of question of my PhD is around how TMS produces these different effects that are beneficial in oligodendrocytes. Our hypotheses are that TMS is perhaps acting directly on oligodendrocytes and producing these different effects, like increased survival and myelin production. But it could also be acting indirectly on oligodendrocytes and acting on those other different cells that Jenny was talking about, like the astrocytes and the neurons, for instance, which you can see in purple and blue on the screen up there. So these other cells could be releasing different factors which can act on oligodendrocytes and thereby cause those different sort of effects in oligodendrocytes. But we don't know which one it is yet, or whether it's either of those at the moment. That's what we hope to find out. But why is that important? Like, why does that matter? Well, knowing how TMS improves oligodendrocyte survival, the myelin production and regrowth should allow us, well, will allow us to target them more directly and find the best possible stimulation parameters to maximize the benefits of TMS in oligodendrocyte treatment and MS treatment, which hopefully will allow us to better optimize our human trials and therefore provide better therapy in the future. And in May this year, we held a community conversation around the sort of the opinion, yes, and Basil in the front here was in that as well, around the question of how people felt about using TMS as a treatment for multiple sclerosis. And just there's a couple of findings, sort of key quotes that we got and findings from that just on the screen that popped up. But overall, we found that sort of the attendees thought TMS was had great potential in MS treatment, and also that they also identified different barriers that were potentially in place to receiving TMS treatment for people with MS and how we could possibly overcome them. So that conversation really sort of provided us with a lot of ideas and things that we didn't know about multiple sclerosis for future treatment, which is really important for research and also for sort of tailoring that treatment in the future. But we also hope to, well, we are holding further conversations with people in the MS community in the future. And if you'd like to participate in them, feel free to come up and chat sometime today or scan the QR code. But yeah, thank you, guys. Cheers.
Hi guys, just one question. Volunteers needed, is that for the phase 2 trials or for the conversations?
That's a good question. That is not for the phase 2 trials. The phase 2 trials actually ended, but yes, just for the conversation, yeah.
So what's happening now that phase 2's finished?
Thank you. We've finished recruiting, and so we're still analysing the data. I expect we'll know that probably at the end of next year, and based on the results from phase 2, we'll decide what to do next. It's a multi-site trial, so they closed it all in, I think it was in March this year, and we're waiting to hear back now from the data. Yeah. And thanks to anyone in the room who may have participated. It was really exciting to have everybody here in Perth.
Do you think anyone will get any benefit from this treatment if they have a severe tremor?
That's a really good question. TMS is actually used in some cases to treat Parkinson's tremor, but the effects so far have been quite temporary. So you only get benefits from TMS that last for less than a day. It's generally during the treatment and a little bit after. But there are no long-term studies in MS on tremor that I know of. So potentially yes, but that's an area of research.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny and Josh. Now, Jenny, I'm not going to let you escape. You're going to join the panel for the final session today. We're going to have a panel on research. Obviously, Jenny's going to join us. If I could also ask Melanie and Tony and Nicolette Murphy, who we're fortunate enough to have with our Butler Clinic and supported. And last but not least, yes, give me a chance, I'm getting there. And last but not least, Angelica is also joining the panel today, and Angelica is part of our client co-design committee, which is something we're very passionate about. So, sorry? Yeah. No, I think we should have enough chairs. I think we have enough chairs. So sorry, Julia, apologies. So while we sort of get the stage set up, we're going to invite you to ask some questions. We've also got some questions from online, which I can facilitate as well, but have a little think about your questions. We're good? And we will have somebody roaming around with a microphone as required. Lovely. Okay, so do we have any questions for the panel on the research side of things? And if you want a little bit more time to think through your questions, I can open up with one of the ones we've received online. And I guess, okay, look, let's start with an online question. So one of the questions we've received online is, could you talk to us about the importance of early detection and diagnosis? And whoever would like to go first, please feel free.
Thank you. That's a really good question. It's probably not my field of expertise, so I'm going to talk very briefly about the context. Early detection is really, really important because we know that when the brain is damaged, it's very difficult to repair it, and then we're in that situation of putting the bus route in to go around the train station. Whereas if we can detect things early, we can try and prevent that train station from ever collapsing or getting flooded. And that early detection is important. But the problem is knowing what to detect, because we don't know yet what the markers are that can detect MS early. So I think it's important, it's a real challenge, and I think that a lot more research needs to be done in that area.
Do you want to? I think our research focuses on a couple of things. The first one is how, to Jenny's point, how do you detect it? What is the test to find it early? Can we do it in kids? And I know this sounds sad, but encouragingly, I've recently heard of 2 14-year-old people who've been diagnosed, which sounds sad, but the sooner we can get to it, the sooner we, and you never know, people may have had it at 14 before, but you just didn't know about it. So that's the one piece where research is looking at. The other one is research is looking at how do you get in early to remyelinate or repair, to Jenny's point. And the third one is then how can you treat so that it can slow down the progression. So you might not be able to repair, but you might be able to prevent. So those are the 3 areas that we're looking at. So like any disease, whether it's cancer or anything, the sooner you can get to it and start either preventing further deterioration or repairing, which is harder, the better that you can do that. So we have seen some stats recently where we've been asking MS Australia, who we use to assess the research applications, and they've been saying that they have seen that the age of diagnosis has moved earlier. Can you remember the numbers? Can't remember, but I mean we'll share them with you in our annual report as well, but if anybody wants them we can give it to you. And therefore what we're seeing is that, and whether it's a direct cause or not, I've got a scientist to my right, so I've got to be really careful what I say here, but we are seeing that people diagnosed with MS today are much more functionally independent than people who were diagnosed 10, 20 years ago. And that's because of all those interventions and all the research in those areas. We're also finding that people in Australia with MS have got the same life expectancy as any any person without MS who's relatively healthy. So it's not shortening people's lives, and now our focus has got to be on how to improve the quality of life through either repair or avoid, slowing down progression. Sorry, Nicolette. No. Go on. What do you think?
I think that the research that's been carried out, getting us involved, has helped the researchers progress for the future and the future people that are diagnosed with MS. What do you think?
I think we're just very lucky to be in a country and with MSWA that are so proactive in research and finding out what's going on. Because the more we find out, the sooner we find out, the sooner we get what we need.
And I think to that point, you know, we're also very keen to participate not just in, people have asked, and Basil, I know you've asked this question as well, it's not so much where the research is done, it's how much data we can get and how quickly we can do the research. So it doesn't really matter. Preferably we all collaborate across the globe on these things. But what is really important to us at MSWA is both that all of you can participate in the trials in WA where appropriate, and that also that we translate the findings from that research and educate you and the neurologists and the GPs and everybody so that we can get, whether it's early treatment, early diagnosis, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really important. And from an MSWA perspective, I, Tony, all of us are very passionate about pushing that translation piece. Because if you don't know about it, you can't immediately get onto it. And we all want to know about the latest things that we can do to improve the quality of life.
Well, I think, actually, just before we go to the floor, I'm going to take another online question, but I'd like the mic to go back left towards Angelica and Nicolette for this one. And you can have your say afterwards, guys, but I think from your perspective, both as people that receive services and people with conditions, etc., what does the research actually mean to you and your neurological conditions?
I just feel it's very positive for the future of this disease and neurological diseases, and I feel that we're a voice, we've been given a voice with research, and we're being heard. And there's a lot of action, Jen's doing all the action, and it's so positive for a bright future for us.
Ditto.
Yes, very well put, Nicolette, thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Jenny, Mel?
The only thing I wanted to talk about, or maybe Tony can talk about it, is co-design. Do you want to talk about that?
We, as Melanie mentioned, we've been working with MS Australia to kind of add some things around what we might expect as an organisation from the investment that we put in. So at the heart of that, what we've been asking MSA to consider when they're looking at all of these proposals is that they're doing co-design. So they're sitting down with people who use the services in the places they use the services and asking what they actually want and what they need and how they could be involved in it. And I think that is a shift for a lot of people, and I know a lot of the amazing kind of academics and PhDs and professors who are out there, you know, they're doing really good work, but sometimes, definitely not in the case of Jenny sitting beside me, but sometimes they can do that in a bit of a silo, and it can be quite academic, and they don't often think first about the client. Is that a fair thing to say?
Absolutely. I mean, when we had our community conversation with MSWA members, we came out of there thinking, oh, we know nothing. We don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what we're doing. And it was really challenging, but also really motivating to know that we can get the input from you guys and it can help direct our research. There is also an element of, in some cases, we do know our stuff and we do know why we're doing the research, but I think there's a really important balance to be had.
Yeah, and I think we are, for those of you who came to the conference at the end of last year, so we very much are trying, we had this discussion earlier on, we're very much trying to involve you in those conferences and in the research. And overseas, what I found, I went to an international progressive conference, and the British and the Europeans and even the Canadians are incredibly good at co-design for research and participation. And I think I heard some stats the other day on the ABC where they were talking about Australia is really leading in terms of its scientific research, but it needs to catch up in terms of its approach to co-design and involving the community it's trying to help in the research and the translation of that research. Is that fair to say, Jenny?
So questions from the floor, is anybody? Anyone's there? I've got some more online, but it'd be great to get some from in the room as well.
Basil, you always scare us.
Well, I'm about to scare you again. Just we're talking about all the research in WA. A lot of the things I see are all done in Sydney and Melbourne and everything like that. We don't have the amount of research over there. I think we need to inject more money into WA. Like at the end of the year, the SPIN research programs will probably finish because MSWA pulled their money out of that. also I'm heavily involved in the Neuro Hub, which MSWA have pulled a lot of money out of that, or all their money or something. I just think we're going in the wrong direction, whereas to get involved, us, in WA, I don't want to sit on a computer all day. I want to go there. Thank you.
So Basil, I'm open to all challenging questions, but I'm also a big believer in the facts. We have not pulled money from the Neuro Hub. We are still funding it to the end of December. They have to go and apply for the next round of research like they always have, and there's not a no to that. They just have to go through a scientifically validated and rigorous process to put their application in. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, we have stopped some elements of the SPIN program that we did not believe, and we went out and spoke and we consulted with various people, did not believe was getting the return. I have a responsibility to you to make sure the money, and to all the people who donate, that that money is going towards the best research. So just because we pull it from SPIN doesn't mean it doesn't go and get translated back in WA or potentially be done in WA. But in fact, that money, that I think some of that went to the International Progressive Alliance to try and look at progressive MS, which we haven't done much. We need to do more research on. So we have an obligation to keep weighing it up, Basil, and just because it's in WA doesn't mean it's in the best interest of people with MS, but that is not our strategy to move everything away from it. I mean, Jenny's stuff is here in WA. All of the SPIN stuff was in WA. All of some of the stuff with ECU and John Mamo and Perrin, we still do millions in WA. We haven't, just because we stop some, doesn't mean that that's the strategy. It just means that we're trying to take our responsibility to you seriously and reallocate it where we think we're getting the best results.
Can I just comment on that? Science is really, really competitive, and science is competitive, and applying for money is always one of the most difficult things we have to do. But doing it in a system that is peer-reviewed and rigorous and transparent is the best outcome for us and for the science. And while MSWA in the past has given money very generously in WA, and they really created a lot of research groups and a lot of capacity, I think it's a good process now to have to go through a really rigorous process. It's a pain in the neck, and I hate writing those applications. But the yeah.
Run a peer review process on our behalf. That's all. I just think you should do it again. That's all. It's just an opinion. They can't have.
We don't. Well, we could, Basil, but we just duplicate the spend. Why would we waste your money on duplicating the spend when we've got a perfectly good process that works there? We've got our criteria. We've been very clear on our criteria, which include WA. They have to meet those criteria and come back to us, and our board decides where the money is spent.
I think for me, a really good example of a national program that works for WA is we have invested in the Platypus program, which you saw earlier, which is genuinely world leading. And there's a project that is collaborating across the whole country in multiple places. But through our colleagues and Julia, who's standing in the room over here, we are lobbying, and we have it as part of the contract actually, that people in WA will get access to that first, and more than other people in the nation. So I think that's a national program with international reach that is directly benefiting people in WA. So hopefully that kind of thing is something you would welcome. So.
Excellent. I think we have another question over here.
Sorry, I'm going a bit lip-sync here. Do you have anything back on research from how diet affects MS?
Yes, but we don't have any experts here, and I might get you guys to comment if you've benefited from any of that. Professor Lucinda Black, and this goes to where research is fluid, Lucinda Black was here and based here and is still running a program here that we fund, but she's now moved to, I've forgotten which university in Melbourne, so now they're running it from here and from Melbourne, and we're still funding it, but yes, they are doing it. The research so far they've run, whether Lucinda did this one, we did one on vitamin D, and that didn't show that vitamin D supplements, I think, make a massive difference. Going out in the sun in the appropriate times of the day and getting vitamin D from the sun is still the best source. The other ones we've looked at, and have we got any dietitians here? Do you want to comment on the stuff that Lucinda's found around diet? Because I'm going to say stuff that's... Sorry?
Hi, everyone. Oh, I'll stand up.
Sorry?
My name's Misty. I'm one of the dietitians from MSWA. So yeah, lovely dietitians. We work with people to make sure they're meeting their nutrition needs. So it is very individual. So we look at you as a holistic person and obviously treat that. So I guess there's no one specific diet for MS. It's more making sure that you're meeting all your nutrition needs, you're doing that in the right way, and working with you if you have any, obviously, allergies, intolerances, etc., to do that.
But I think is it fair to say there's no evidence at the moment through all the research to say excluding any food group can help with MS?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, not enough research at the moment. I know a lot of the common fad diets, kind of the Walls, George Jelinek, etc. There's just not enough research, unfortunately, to be cutting out whole food groups like dairy. Yeah, so we work on a whole food-based approach, and then yeah, if there's any specific needs that you have, then obviously we can address that.
Thank you. I mean, what I see anyway as a layman is they all lead to the same road as, you know, be as healthy as you possibly can, as many plant-based foods, as many less processed foods, and, you know, a good balance.
Sugar.
Oh, yeah. Cutting out alcohol and sugar, which are, you know, starting to get a lot more airtime now. Don't smoke, very clearly. Exercise.
Just eat a good balanced diet. I eat anything and everything in moderation. I've just survived a month in Spain by myself, eating every good food that I could possibly eat. I put on 3 kilos for the win, and I'm living life to the fullest, and I don't deny myself anything, but I don't gorge like a pig either.
We can see that. We can't see the 3 kilos, though.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question. I do have one online, but I'd prefer to take one from the room if there is. If not, we might get the microphone's in Tony's hands. Good. This one probably goes to you first, Tony. What role does communicating about research play in fundraising?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think it's fair to say, you know, MSWA has put, I think it's $40 million into research over the last 10 years, which is incredible. But if I was to ask a lot of my colleagues over the last year or so, tell me about all of that and what that's done, I think a lot of people really struggled to quantify that and tell the story. And I think that was a problem for us because we also then did some research with our supporters in the world to say, what is it that motivates you to make donations? And obviously there's lots of good things that we do, so, you know, support services, but the number one thing that motivates people is research into cure and finding, you know, ways to make people's quality of life better. And what people tell us is that they want to hear about that much, much more. So the challenge was that we weren't able to tell that story really well. So that's where we have been doing the work with MS Australia to say, how have we shifted the dial? And Mel mentioned earlier, this was a revelation to me, they said that the quality, life expectancy, if you have MS in Perth, is the same as anyone else in the general population. But in New Zealand, how many years lower do you think that might be? Anyone want to hazard a guess? Yeah, 10 years difference in New Zealand. And crediting that to, you know, the research that's done in Australia, the services, the access to early diagnosis. And it actually made me think of something that Nicolette said to me the first time I ever met you. And you said, of all the places to have MS, this is probably the best place in the world. And yeah. So maybe you could add to that.
I'm a London girl, and I just know that I wouldn't receive half as much as I get through MSWA and MS Australia and all the research, all the facilities, just everything what MSWA are about. It's just nice to be a part of that family.
I went travelling to England in 2016, and I met people when the ECTRIMS conference was on, and I was shocked and horrified at the lack of resource that they have in the UK to help people with MS. I told them things that we get from MSWA, and this was pre-NDIS. I've been with MSWA since I was diagnosed in 2008, and I was gobsmacked at what a small little place in WA can provide for us in comparison to what is available in the UK. We are really, really lucky. Don't take it for granted.
Lovely. Maybe that's a really nice note to finish on. We're not lucky, but we are lucky. Look, thank you, Angelica. Thank you, Nicolette, Mel, Tony, Jenny. Wonderful. Thank you again. It's been a great day. I really appreciate you coming, and we hope to see you next year. So yes, please, I'll leave that up there. But away we go. Thank you.